A judge has ordered a review of the Dakota Access Pipeline, and this is a small but important victory for those who have been protesting at Standing Rock, who have protested the Dakota Access Pipeline and the potential harm that it could cause to the drinking water in the area. Now, the federal judge ruled that the Army Corps of Engineers did not adequately consider the Dakota Access Pipeline's impact on the environment and ordered the agency to reevaluate parts of its analysis. The court agrees that the Corps did not adequately consider the impacts of an oil spill on fishing rights, hunting rights, or environmental justice, or the degree to which the pipeline's effects are likely to be highly controversial. That is a direct statement from the US District Judge James Boasberg. And he makes a great point there. I mean, that was what people wanted. That's what the Obama administration wanted toward the end of his second term. They wanted a better review, a comprehensive review of the environmental impact of this pipeline. And by the way, as suspected, as predicted, there were already 2 major spills with this pipeline. In March, its system spilled more than 100 gallons of oil in 2 separate incidents. And then also the line leaked 84 gallons in South Dakota in April. And so the concerns of the Native Americans living in that area are legitimate concerns. There have already been spills. And so I think the judge did the right thing here. Keep in mind that the pipeline started pumping commercially on June 1st. And it's just there have already been problems with the spills. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, it's hard to know how this. It's hard to know how this goes legally. It's hard for me to imagine a Trump Interior Department and a Trump administration not winning this battle, just because the resource. But a federal judge can get in the way of a lot of things, and it's funny because the wording in this was interesting because he's like saying that the Army Corps of Engineers substantially complied. But you didn't take into account how an oil spill could affect how it could affect the tribe in all those 3, in fishing rights, hunting rights, or environmental justice, all those 3 ways, and that opens up that seemed to be a pretty broad ruling, while wording it so that it's a specific ruling, but then giving sort of broad authority to the Army Corps of Engineers, giving them many things to investigate, right? And in fact, the head of the Dave Archambault, the second, I guess, if I'm pronouncing his name right, the Standing Rock Tribal Chairman, he called it a major victory and praised the Obama administration for painstakingly, he said, considering the impacts of the pipeline, and then criticized the Trump administration for doing it hastily. So the tribe considers it a major victory. Obviously, anything that slows this process down is a victory, is some victory, but it might be a major victory because if a federal judge wants to spend years analyzing whether those 3 outcomes have been, whether those 3 concerns have been appropriately addressed, he can make it take that long a time. It is hard for me to believe that a Trump Interior Department solely dedicated, a Trump administration, to rolling back regulations and letting business do what they want. Hard for me to believe that they don't find a way to win this, but it's a good day.
It is a good day, yeah.
It's also hard for me to believe that they needed to conduct further review on this. Wasn't the Dakota pipeline originally rerouted from from North Dakota, Bismarck, somewhere else, right? Because of its potential environmental effects on that community largely white, right? So now all of a sudden we need further review to see if there are going to be some kind of environmental impact on this particular community or context.
Right.
I just think it's interesting that in various contexts in the US, people of color are consistently fighting for access to clean water.
It's insane. It really is. It's crazy. And I constantly bring up the work that Reuters has done in testing drinking water, not only in Flint, Michigan, but throughout the country. And obviously the water crisis in Flint, Michigan was a big deal, and it sparked some of the investigations that Reuters has done. but they found that in a lot of areas that aren't from a lower socioeconomic status, the drinking water is still not safe to consume. In parts of Los Angeles, right, where you have like the wealthiest people living, there are some issues with the drinking water. But you're right. I mean, if you want to, compare or show where it's more likely to have unsafe drinking water, it disproportionately impacts those from poorer communities, and it's just disgusting. By the way, there's another component to this story that I think is important. So the judge also acknowledged that the federal permits, which were granted by Trump's executive order in January, broke the law in some aspects. Right. The president had ordered the Corps to expedite permits, enabling the pipeline to cross the Missouri River upstream of the Standing Rock Reservation. And so I didn't see much elaboration on it, but I do think that that's an interesting angle that the judge took. And I think that, look, for me, the biggest issue with Trump agreeing with the further construction of the pipeline and the operation of the pipeline is the huge conflict of interest. The fact that he he invested in this project, right? Sure. The fact that he has a financial incentive to allow the project to go through and for the pipeline to start pumping the oil. I don't know. It's that conflict of interest keeps coming up over and over again, and I wonder if there's ever going to be any type of consequence for it. And for me, this isn't even ideological. If this was a Democratic president, I'd have the same problem with it. But for some reason, he seems untouchable when it comes to this issue. Yeah.
There's a story out today, and I'm reading in the Minneapolis Star Tribune that a judge's ruling that might open the door for at least a temporary shutdown of the. Thank you for that pop-up ad. A judge's ruling that might open the door for at least a temporary shutdown of the disputed Dakota Access Pipeline surprised the oil industry that had hailed the project as a game changer for North Dakota oil. So, this ruling caught a lot of people off guard. I can't imagine that there won't be an Earth's quickest appeal. I don't know.
Sure. How much does Trump hate federal judges?
Oh my God.
And who thought that federal judges would be the homies, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love federal judges. Go get them.
You don't like ads? Well, I hear you, brother. Did you know that you can become a Young Turks member, get the full 2-hour show every day on demand, plus so many other network shows, all ad-free for just $10 a month? Give it a shot right now, TYTnetwork.com/join.